Right, so I've put the wire on here, added a bit of green heatsink, made the same connection as the old one, so the two can just push together. However, I've come across a bit of a problem here. So if I put these side by side, can you see any difference between them? No? Let me get a little pointer. Have a look at the shape of this compared to this. This is like a U shape, and that is right angles on it. This U shape fits in to this U shape here, and then is held in place with the screw, so it can't twist or anything. It fits perfectly into that little recess. But my points are the wrong, my condenser's the wrong shape. So I think what I'm going to have to do is try and shave the one that I've brought to that shape there to get it to fit in there, and then it'll hold. So let's get the angle grinder and the flat disc set up, and I'll see if I can make my own condensers. Why they can't sell them with the actual right fittings on the bottom, I do not know. Well, that doesn't happen often. I've put it on and it's solid, it's not going anywhere. So I can almost take this now, connect it into there, and seal it up again. Well, you can see we've got a bit of wire there. And then young Mark had added this on with the spade terminal on the end. It's a completely different piece of wire that ran all the way up to there. But hopefully, if I get that on there, the normal wire will be long enough, which it is just about, hopefully, to make it. Yeah, looks like if I stick one right on the end of there, it'll do it. Yeah, I think these are different lengths, but they're not marked up in the box as to which one goes where. Right, so what I'm going to do is take this one inside, prepare that and put a terminal on it and heat shrink it, and then we can replace this one. I'm not going to put the forks or anything on because I've got to put the new points on yet. So we just do the condensers and get them ready. So all we need to do this is a Stanley knife, the crimpers, the male terminal, and the thing here. So what I normally do is thread the wire in here, see if it's going to go through up to the end of there, and then I'll take the knife, just cut it there, and then I know where to go all the way round. Okay, and then you can see that fits nicely in there like so. And then what you do is you put these in the crimpers like so. Just click it so it ratchets, then it holds itself, look, no hands. And then you push this in through here till you can see the wire the other side, angle it down, and one perfect connection. And what did I forget to do? Put the heat shrink tubing on here. Bugger. So we'll have to use some bigger stuff and hope it'll fit. Right, but that, then you always do the tug test to make sure it won't come off. So that one's done. Let me go and get some. So I've got this set in the local supermarket and we're flogging it in there. So I thought, well, I'm going to have one of them. It's a nice set, it's got all the different sizes in it. So that looks like it'll go on, it's quite big. We'll use some of that. So we only want really about that much. There we go. Right, hold on. As the name gives it away, it is heat shrink tubing. Cool, that's all. Right, let's give it a bit more of a Set the fire for the thing there. I think that's on there good enough. A bit bigger than what we want, but I'll have to remember next time to put one on. That's good enough. Right, job done. So 2 of the new condensers are on, and I've put all new 3 sets of points on. I haven't timed it up or anything. But what I have noticed is one of the felt pads, which you normally have some oil on, these are really dry, has fallen off and disappeared. It should be in these prongs here. I'll take a close up so you can see we've got a felt pad missing. And then what you do is you normally put a dribble of oil on them, and then it helps keep the cam lubricated and the points as well. So got something else we've got to sort out, and then I've got this odd wire here which I've got to put a terminal on, which was connected to this one, and obviously they were wrapped around and connected like so, but I'm going to do the spade terminal connections like I've done here, so that if I'm out on the road and I need to change one of these, I just unplug it, undo this, undo the screw, connect it back together, and we're gone. So young Mark actually had a brilliant idea. He was ahead of his time there. God knows how he did that. And then what I've got, I've also got my analog multimeter here, and then once we can get the spark plug in here with the gauge on it, we can set the time, and we'll put that across the points, and then as soon as they open with the timing mark, the meter will bang over and we can use it to set it precisely. Now, young Mark never had a digital voltmeter. He certainly didn't have a dial gauge. All I did was turn these round and then adjust them till they open. So I'm suspecting the timing to be slightly out, but if the back plate's actually out to the 2.6mm on the dial gauge, the whole thing could be out. So it's running and it goes, and I went round on it, so I'm not expecting it to be miles out, but we can get it set really precisely now. But that's how technology's moved on with YouTube and all the bits and pieces. Because years ago, you didn't have that. All you could do was get a feeler gauge. I mean, I didn't even know a digital voltmeter existed, yet alone know how to use one. So anyway, enough waffle. Let's cut it here, and we'll wait for the parts to arrive, and then we'll really get this finished. Oh, and one other thing that I've discovered is, obviously when you do some DIY, you also always have some bits left over. And I found this in the parts box, and I'm thinking, what the hell does this go on? What it actually does is it goes the other side of this shaft inside the housing here, and it's a bushing that keeps the housing safe. So I've got to take my gear linkage off and fit this in. Oops. So here's the 3 sets of points that I've pulled off. Let's have a quick look over the faces, see what sort of condition they're actually in. I'll zoom right in, and we'll do set 1, set 2, set 3 and have a look. As I was waiting for parts, I thought I'd do it now. So that pushes onto there, like so. And then my cover goes back on here, like so. But you've got to make sure there's a wire here. It's got a little cover in it, and it sits inside this. Hang on, it's not gone in. Sits inside this groove. Otherwise, if you don't get it lined up right, this wire can hit the chain going round and it can cut into it. I'm going to have to line that up, so let me do that while I put the camera down. Right, it's a little hard to see, so I'll put some light in there, but you can see that cable going in there, and that's sitting in the grommet now. So what I've got to do now, let me just turn the torch off, is put the Allen bolt back in. Unfortunately, with the cover being bent, I've only got one Allen bolt holding this cover on. But yeah, that's all I've got. So we'll crank this up and we'll put the gear mechanism back together. Right, that's in there. So now we've got the spacer in there, which means that the gear shaft and the cover are nicely spaced out. So I'll put all the mechanism back on and then we're done. Right, so that shim's all in, cover's all fitted. I've redone the gear linkage. Done it quite nice for my foot, so I can get all my positions for my gears. So that's a job off the list, so that's nice and that's solid, and I've got my foot peg perfectly straight as well. So let's get on with this. Well, I've got bogged down in so much technical detail, I've just lost sight of how to set the points. I was trying with this dial gauge, and yeah, I've just lost sight, so I'm going back to the old school method. I know it works and that's what I'm going to use. So what I've done, I've got myself a little LED bulb, panel bulb here with a red and blue wire, so basically a positive and negative, and then we clip the red wire onto the condenser wire to feed in the set of points, and then we connect the black wire, and then we connect the black wire to ground, and then what we do is we turn on the ignition. We turn this anti-clockwise because that's the rotation of the engine when it's running, and we get the timing mark to line up, and just as that timing mark lines up, the light should come on if the timing is correct, because when the timing mark lines up with the one inside the wheel as shown up on the screen now, that's when the point should fire and the light should illuminate. Let's get set up and we'll check it. Right, so I'm connected to the left front, so which is this one. We'll turn the ignition on, and then I will turn the wheel slowly, so it's just coming round, just coming round, just coming round. There, it's in line now. Now for some reason the plug's just not connected now. Why did that go off? Let's try that again. Yeah, the light's on, right. Come round, it should light now. Right, that's illuminated and you can see the bulb is on. So that one is timed perfectly. If it's not timed perfectly, then you move the back plate and either move the points back a bit or forward a bit until it fires when the lines light up. So we'll shift the positive lead now round to this one here, which is the right hand front. So let me just find the timing mark for that. Right, it's coming up, I can see it in there. Ignition back on. Let's bring it round. On. Oh, there we go, that's lined up. Right, that's lined up. Bulb on. So that one's timed. So the last one I've got to do is the centre one. So as you look at your points, you've got the centre one at the top, the left hand one to the left hand side, and the right hand one to the right hand side. So we've done the left and the right. So we've done this one and the far side, just the centre to time. So let me get the camera out of the way and we'll get set up to time that, because the other two I've already done, but I haven't done this one, so we'll set this one up together. So with the centre points being at the top, the first thing we've got to do is connect the yellow wire from the condenser here into here. I'm going to do that with the 5.5mm spanner, so let me quickly slip that on and connect that on, and then we'll come back and start adjusting these points for the timing. But what we do, I'll connect this, then we'll spin it round with the timing mark and see how far out it is, or whether it's actually spot on. First thing you always need to do is check whether your points are actually touching the cam. And you can see here from the photo that I've taken, there's actually a gap, so the base of this is not in contact with this. So when this comes round and should be riding the points up to open it, it's not actually opening. So you need to make sure you adjust your points to be in contact with the cam. So I've got to do that first of all before we can check whether they're opening. And to adjust the points, we use these, which are called feeler gauges. They're all different sizes. You can get metric or imperial. So for ours, you get the metric ones. And it's supposed to be, this is a 0.3 of a mil, and this is 0.05. When you put the two together, you hold them together like such and put them in between the gap. That's the gap you want, and you want a very slight drag. If you put them in and they're doing this, the gap's too big. So you don't want it like that and you can't get it out. You just want it so it's just scraping on it. It's not lifting it up. It's just a bit of friction on either side. So you can see here, I'll put the feeler gauges in. There's no resistance at all, and I've got loads of sideways movement. So the points gap we've got there is too big. Now here, you put a little flat bladed screwdriver in, you undo this screw, then you twist the points using the two little nodules here and the little slot there to close the gap up. So now we've got the gap set correctly, we can now set the timing. So we need to connect the leads on as I've done, turn the ignition on, spin it round and see when these points open where this LED light is coming on in relation to where the points are actually firing. So I'll put it there and you should in theory be able to see it light. Hold on. Right, the light's up here. Let's put the ignition on. Give it a turn, see where it comes on. It's coming on. I'll take a picture and put it up on the screen now. It's coming on too soon. Right, hold on. So as you can see from the picture on the screen, it's close, but it's actually firing a bit too early before top dead centre. So we need to adjust it to make it fire a little later than what it's firing at the moment. We're close, but we're not quite there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen this screw and this screw, which free up the backing plate that the points are mounted on. I'm going to put a flat bladed screwdriver in here, and I'm going to move the points this way to move the cam of the points nearer the higher points so they open quicker. No, actually I've got to go the other way because they're firing too soon. I've got to move them back a bit so they open a bit later. That's what we want. So let me get this backed off and I'll put it on, and then when you twist this you can have it so that when you move it back you line the mark up, you move this back, as soon as the light comes on you know you're in the right place. Let me get set up and I'll show you. Right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to line the timing mark up to exactly where we want it to fire, which is there. And then I'm going to put a screwdriver in here. I'm going to move the points. Oh Jesus, I can't even move them. Hold on. Let me undo these a bit more. Oh, Jesus. Oh, these are still... That's one of them. What's this one not? Oh, I can't even open that. Hang on, I'll have to get that undone. Right, you can see the lights on. So I put these in here. We go back. It's gone off. So we want it just so it comes on, and that's now the points set correctly. And that's just using the back plate adjustment. So if I quickly now just tighten these back up. So that now is just on. So if I get the screwdriver, which, not the screwdriver, the spanner, which I've now lost, and I go back a tiny bit, that should just go out, which it does, and it's back on. So that's just rocking round the timing point now. You see the light on and off. So the bike is timed up. So what I've got to do now is quickly get some heat shrink and seal up all these connections, then go round with a JIS screwdriver and do all of these screws up without ripping the tops off, and we're good to go. I'm just going to spin it round though and double check the points gap again on that one. Now I've moved it just to make sure that is the right size. Let me just find me thing. Right, let's just try the feeler gauges in here. Yep, very slight drag on both faces. Nice. Right, done. Let me go and get the heat shrink. So I've put the heat shrink on. These are all nicely connected now. Got all good terminals. So when we push the cover on, should keep them out of the way of the points and they shouldn't touch. So that one's all done now, which is great. So now we're going to move on to replacing this, which is now jammed. I can't really move it. So we're going to take this off and then we'll have a look at this and see if we can repair it, because there's 30 quid sitting there in switch. So I'll pop off the petrol connections, pop the tank off. I'm going to see if I can lean the tank over without all the fuel running out, quickly whip this off and then put the new one in. Final bit of the jigsaw. The new petrol tap. It comes with a spare filter as well. That's got one fitted by the looks of it. Yeah, it has. So we'll get this in. Does that go on there or not? No, that is the same filter. So there's one fitted already, so we've got a spare. So we'll go in and take the other one off. Whack this on. And we should be good to go. Perfect. I forgot to press record. I tilted the tank upside down, strapped the other one, put the other one in and I've tightened it up. Now here's the old one that came out. I'll take a picture down in there because it has collected some gunk, but it's all gone down in the recess and not got down into the float. So let's have a look at what we collected. Right, let's have a dig inside here. See what we can get out. Yeah, can do. There's actually not that much. Well, there's a fair bit of sludge, but no, there's not that much sludge in there. So ideally, the tank isn't looking too bad. It does look pretty grim down in there. Yeah, not overly too bad actually. Right, let's give it a bit of a blast out. There you can see the colour of the water coming out. That's pretty clean. So that looks a bit better down in there now. So there wasn't too much. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn the fuel. Oh Jesus! Tank's all back on. New fuel cock, all moving nicely, which is just what you want. All shrink tapped up, ready to go. The only thing I've got to do is put the rear foot peg back on, put the micron back on. We're done. But the bike, good to go. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little mini series. I didn't make it to Cornwall this time, but now the bike's done, we'll get out and we'll do some reliability, some speed trials, see how the bike runs, and yeah, you never know, we might go again. So keep watching and you never know.